All right, action. Oh, that was bad. Hey guys, welcome. This is Under the Surface with Anneli, Maley, and today co-host Marena Whittle. We are just going to do a quick little chat, like recap post-Olympics, our feelings, how we're feeling about everything, life, etc.
Because we went to the Olympics. Crazy to think. To keep you guys like kind of up with everything, we finished about a week, maybe 9 days ago. But it feels like it was like 3 months ago. But it also feels like we're still in it. Like it doesn't feel like it ever finished, but we definitely finished competing. I don't know. We'll probably explain it a little bit more.
We've been on holiday for a little bit. We went to Amsterdam and now we're in Mallorca in Spain, which is a beautiful little island just off the coast. Yeah, it's been an interesting time, I think, like... Also, we only have one microphone, so sorry, we'll be passing this back and forth. But it's been an interesting time, like, to try and enjoy being on holiday and to, like, feel like for me, feel like I deserve rest and deserve time to, like, breathe and all of that, while still, like, we've been preparing for this one moment for 4 years. Well, three years, I guess, like, maybe...
Almost like our whole life.
Yeah.
It's like the Olympics.
Yeah, like you prepare for this moment and then it happens and then you have this feeling of like emptiness, I guess. Anyway, but I'm going to start with Marena. Tell me about how you're feeling right now, like post-Olympics, that whole entire, like, we'll recap more of the actual experience, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. It's hard because you work towards this and like this is your focus for like the last few months especially. We've been so locked in. The last year we only knew we were qualifying in February or March, and on the other side of it, it's just kind of like it's finished and life goes on, and that's a really hard thing to kind of grasp personally, and I just feel like this emptiness and like all of this hard work and everything, all of this focus is going towards one thing, and when you do that and you finish it, it's just like, okay, kind of like what's next? So I guess for me in our holiday and like on this side of it, it's like being comfortable with myself and like accepting that I did do as much as I could have. We'll probably talk about our actual performance in the Olympics, but it's just kind of like accepting that I've worked hard. It's okay to feel like this emptiness and like this hollow feeling because of course like nothing can step in the place of the Olympics, but like at the same time I'm incredibly proud of myself and sad and all of the roller coaster of emotions that come with like doing something so massive that we just did.
Yeah.
But what about you? How does that all sound?
What's interesting is like I don't think I can say I've ever been in a situation where I feel pride and sadness and disappointment. Yeah. So like I feel this like immense pride in like I'm so proud of myself, I'm so proud of us, but I'm so disappointed. And I feel so like embarrassed. Like it's a weird feeling. Like I feel
shame, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe like we built our own expectations so high. Like we built this tower of our own expectations and then we fell off it. You know, like we built that. Like I know we have had so much positive support from everyone who was just, you know, happy to see us there.
And everyone has been so great. Like I haven't gotten a single negative, like nothing negative from people back home or anyone.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's where it's like tough because we were the first to do it. So it was like anything that we did was awesome. But I think because we know how great we could have been. And like I think everyone saw like a little glimpse of how good we could have been. And then that's like, no one ever said we had expectations, but we definitely knew what we were capable of.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty accurate for me to say that like we fell off a tower of our own expectations.
Yeah.
Like that really was it. And it's a beautiful thing to strive so high and like set your bar so high. And like that's what has made us so successful in the past, but it also leaves you so vulnerable to fall.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't say it would be like we fell off a tower of expectation. It's like we built a tower and we were working really hard towards it, and then it's almost like the ground fell from underneath us. Like we didn't fall, like the situation changed and the circumstances changed, so we weren't able to accomplish our goals. And I mean, if anyone didn't watch, it's like incredibly difficult to play a tournament with 3 people, let alone the Olympics. So you're playing against other Olympians with 3 people, and it's just like, I don't think anything could have prepared us for that.
Yeah.
That's not to say that we fell off. It's like, I think we all went down. I think we all almost died on that court trying to like perform to our best.
Yeah, like how do you, like in my head, I'm like, I gave it everything I have and it still wasn't enough. But what is enough? I guess like that's the thing that I'm trying to come to terms with now. Like what is not enough? Like what do I need to do to feel like it was enough, you know? So Damon actually said something to me like, you need to be able to look at your failures like in the eye and it's not a negative thing. Like I think I said this on one of my Instagram posts, like accept what you are and accept what you are not. Like I am an Olympian.
Yes.
I am one of the best players at 3x3 in the world, the top 8 teams. We finished fifth. We finished 5th and I am in that team and those are things that I am. What I am not is I am not a medalist. I did not make it to any sort of semi-final, and that doesn't mean that I won't be in the future, but in order to like move on, I have to accept what I am and accept what I am not, and that's not a negative thing for me to look at that and be like, I'm not that, but I can be. It like allows so much room for growth.
You were saying something that was like, we're not... accept what you are and accept what you aren't. And like we are Olympians but we're not medalists.
Yeah.
And to that I'll say because like we are Olympians, absolutely, but when we like, here's my thing, injuries, you can't control them but you can prevent them, right? And when an injury hits your team as big as it did hit us, we were number 1 in the world. And like when you take away like the controllables, like when we are in control, we were number 1. And then when that happened, like, what are you going to do, right? It's like, I've been trying to figure out how to relate this to a way that normal people can comprehend. It's like trying to play a full game of basketball with 5 people. Like, imagine trying to play, like, imagine any of the Olympic teams trying to, like even the Team USA, trying to play a game with only 5 people against a proper team that has like all of the strategy, all of the subs, all of the extra breath, all of the time. It's like, or even just a quarter, right? 10 minutes. Yeah. I think like the controllable in my thing is like, okay, well when we did have control, when we were able to do our best, we were number 1 at the time, if you look at the seedings. And that fills me with so much pride, and it's like, we were right there. And so that like fills me with like so much pride, so much like accomplishment. And then like after that it's like, okay, well you can't really control injuries, like you can't do anything about that happens to the worst and best of us. And it's like it just makes me feel so accomplished with this Olympic cycle that like, you know what, we were number 1.
Okay,
like hell yeah, big dog.
Good job. Okay. Something that I want to talk about and touch on real quick before we answer some of the questions about like our experience in the village and all that is like, what did it feel like to be part of like a history making group? And that's something that people have asked me is like, what does it feel like to be the first? And to that I say, it was terrifying. It was so scary. Like for me personally, like I can't speak for Marena, but to be a part of a team that's doing something for the first time, we're kind of like, we're going in blind. Like we didn't know what to expect. There's never been an Australian team doing it before. Like we are setting the bar for how, you know, Gangurrus do this stuff at the Olympic level. Like, you know, like all of these things, like it's scary to be part of a group that's setting the standard or setting the bar and like trying all these things for the first time. I found it really scary, but I also found it really rewarding because that's something that like I am really proud of. Like when I talk about the pride that I feel in being one of the first to do it in this sport at the Olympics for Australia is like, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And I really felt like I belonged here. and I don't often feel like a sense of belonging in professional sports environments. Like I've found it more in my recent years, but like a sense of belonging in your professional environment, in your work environment, anywhere, it's super rare. So that's how I feel about being part of the history making group, one of the first. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like there's no roadmap when you're doing that. There's no clear path. There's just like expectations, and like you hear all of this external voice and stuff, or all these external voices and opinions, and we have such a successful history of basketball in Australia, so you definitely want to live up to that, right? And like comparison can be the devil sometimes, in that when we don't accomplish things that our other thirds or our other halves in women's basketball in Australia might accomplish, it's like, okay, well, how can we be there? Like, that's where we should be. And then we know how great we can be. So it's like, I think that when it comes to like creating history and being the first to do something, it's just got to do with like our own personal expectations, our own personal belief, and then the incredible like bond that we have together. Like the Gangurrus, like Gangurru stands for Indigenous. There's an Indigenous word for like grey kangaroos, which is all about their mob, and it's protecting themselves and like defending themselves from outsiders. And so like every time we would go into a game, and this isn't something that we talk about, it's just like we understood what we do.
Yeah, we understood the assignment.
And then they went and found like a name that represents us, right? And we represented like an Australian icon that represents what we do, and we represent that so well. And so like creating history together, it just made sense. Everything we did was, for the first time, was the strongest way that we knew how to do it. Was like we just would go in and would just bleed for each other, and would just like trust that everything that we were doing was for a purpose. I think that it's like the closeness and the bond of each other, and trusting that everything that we're doing is for like everything that we're doing, as long as we feel like we're doing it the right way, we'll normally end up going in the right direction. And like it's that trust and that creation together that's like, well, we're freaking doing it. We're freaking doing the dang thing. And I think like I wouldn't do it with anybody else. I don't think anybody else could do it the way that we did it. Yeah. Like I even think about some of the players. I think about some of the players on our team, and it's like, who else could do this? Yeah. I think that's a lot of like where I find comfort. What about you?
I mean, I kind of wrapped up how I felt about the like making history thing. The one thing that I wanted to talk about that people might not know, or I'm sure they do, I guess it's part of professional sports, the highs and the lows of winning and losing. And like at the Olympics, holy, I had not been prepared for that. And I think that like, in 5-on-5, like you have at least a couple of days or sometimes 24 hours between your next game. So like, the riding out the high and the low, but winning our first game, first of all, losing our first game at the Olympics in our debut, the way that we did, we were not great. And we came out there, we got like punched in the face by Canada, not literally, but like they were really good. And having that experience and walking off the court after we just like felt like we were drowning and had no idea what happened.
Honestly, if you think about it, we started and finished the Olympics in the same way.
Yeah, kind of. But anyway, so like that was an immediate low. Like that was like, whoa, like I walked off that court like, oh my God, like so many people back home, we're not doing ourselves justice, we're not doing the program justice, we're not doing people justice. And
people were tuning in, there was such a hype about us as well, that like, it was like, okay, everyone's watching for the first time.
And then we bombed the way we did. So that was like a low, right? And then to come out the next day and beat Germany the way we did was a super high. And then to follow that with, who was our next game?
It was USA and then China, or China then USA?
China, USA. And to follow that with two other super high highs, right? Like that was insane. Like you go from like down to up, and then we played Azerbaijan and China and USA, and we're up and we're up and we're up, and then we get an injured player and we lose some games and we're down. Like, the whole highs and lows of it was so intense, like so incredibly intense, and like I've never experienced anything like that. And I think that I've leaned on some people in my life that have been to an Olympics before, that told me, like, never, like, don't stay too high, don't stay too low, like try and like cruise in the middle. And that was the hardest thing to find, was like my cruise state. And I found that by doing things like, Jenna O'Hay told me to take really, really long showers and to like find my me time and my self-care time. And that's something that I really kind of leaned into, was the self-care. And
which would have been kind of hard, because in the village we had 7 or 8 people in one apartment and one nice shower, and the other shower was like one of those like tiny ones.
We'll get there
to compact shower. So it was kind of hard to do the long showers when you needed to. So finding that time was like super important.
Yeah, like we'll get to like the village life, but like the highs and the lows, crazy. I've never experienced anything like that, and I think that like I have learnt so much about myself from just that alone, like going so high to so low really fast and trying to find my flow state in between. That was such a challenge. I ended up bringing my book to the games. Like, so I'd read on the bus on the way there, or play a game on Marina's phone with her on the way there.
Lots of games.
Yeah, lots of games. Just to like not be thinking about basketball the whole time, but like kind of stay relaxed. So how did you feel about managing like the highs and the lows?
Yeah, it was so easy just to bounce off that. It was so easy to just like obsess. Like I was so anxious during the Olympics. So it was so easy to just like, your mind can't get off basketball and your mind can't get off the games, or like the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and then just to stay in that. I had a lot of sleepless nights. Like there was one night I only slept like 3 hours. And that was incredibly difficult because my brain just wouldn't switch off because we're at the Olympics. But then also, like when we're talking about the highs and lows, like it's so easy to get locked in, right? But then also it's like so important to have like the right support system around you. Like you were really good because like we could go and have like little conversations. We could go get silly. We'd get like normal. I could go see Willie, and Willie and I would have like fun banter. Lozzie and I could always make Lozzie giggle, which is so much fun. And then like Damon's always a good chat. Like he always puts everything into perspective. It's so funny when Damon goes into like savage mode, he just kind of gets like really locked in and really serious. So we always try and save that for right before the game time. But I found that like I got into a really good routine probably after the second game, which was Germany, because like our first game, Canada, we've never been down by 14 points before in our entire careers. So, like, we've also never been to the Olympics, so it's okay. But it was like 2-16, and we walked out, and after you walk out of this, like, Coliseum feeling stadium, because you walk underneath the stands and you walk out, and then it's like an opening outside, you have to walk through this media tunnel area, and so it's like this kind of like maze, and people can pull you in, and unfortunately we were pulled in after the Canada game. And the first question that was asked of me, I think was, or it was you, was, well, how does it feel to be an Olympian? And as horrible as we felt at that time, it was like, wow, great perspective. Like, we've just played the worst game of our lives in front of the world, on a world stage. Everyone's watching back home. Some people watching for the first time for 3x3, but yeah, wow, we are Olympians. How cool.
Yeah.
And anyway, I digress. So once we'd finished that, and then we'd gotten to the other side of the media, what is it called? What do you call it?
Tunnel?
Like media tunnel, media walk. It was like, almost like once you stepped out of that area, like your brain was like, okay, done. Like that's the game now. And it took me until the second game to realise that, because first one we'd lost so much, by so much. And then the second game we won against Germany. It was so high and the vibes were so different in the media tunnel. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, wow, you're finally doing it. Like you're doing this for everyone. You're doing it for like the history, you're doing it for Australia. And it's like, yeah, woo, so great, And then once we got out of the tunnel, it was like, we've still got one more game.
Yeah.
Or like, we've still got more games ahead of us. So I found it as a really good way. Like anytime we were around the stadium, it was like lock in. And then once after the tunnel, it was like, okay, lock out.
Yeah.
And then that's when all of the other stuff came in, like the self-care, the playing games, not getting too like focused, not getting too locked onto the negatives or positives. It's just like one game at a time, almost. But that's how I handled it. Did you notice that at all?
Yeah. I think we all kind of ended up doing that, kind of like leaning in and out of like once we're in, and then we're out, we have to fully leave it there, fully leave it there. I want to get on to the next part, which is village life. So the cardboard beds, that was a real thing. The cardboard beds were a real thing. They weren't that bad, but they weren't great either.
Very firm.
They were very firm.
Very firm, very stiff. It was a cardboard base and it had there's only 3 parts of the mattress. It was like squares and there was only one soft, like it was like firm, hard, firm, soft.
Yeah.
There's only one soft part of the whole bed. So you had to like choose where that was going to go.
So I had injured my back before we left to go to Azerbaijan and then arrived in Paris. So sleeping was hard enough as it is.
I actually had a bulging disc and like was incapable of moving without pain 2 weeks before the Olympics. Or 2 weeks before we left for Azerbaijan, so like 3-4 weeks, and like could not move. There were nights when she was in bed and like she couldn't sleep, she couldn't lay, she couldn't do anything. So it wasn't just a sore back. The girl couldn't sit down.
So I had injured my back before we went to Paris. That's something I find a little bit difficult to talk about because I didn't want to tell.
That's why I'm here, so I can do it for her.
I didn't want to tell anyone. Because I didn't want it to be an excuse, and I still don't see it as an excuse for anything. It was just something that happened, and I'm still dealing with that back injury now. Anyway, back to the village beds.
Back to the beds.
Back to the village beds. Okay,
I actually got winded one time. I jumped on it so hard just to do like a silly video, and I jumped sideways and like dead ass. I was like so firm.
The beds, they were cardboard and they were not great. I would say they sucked. Would you agree?
Once I fell asleep, I was asleep, but getting to sleep was freaking difficult.
Okay, all right. Next, the walking into our rooms and having like the packs laid out, our whole kit, like being able to go through our whole kit. That was one of the highlights of the tournament for me. That was, the whole experience. It was so cool to have like our little name tags there and like to have all of this gear. Might I say, none of the gear fit. Maybe 2 t-shirts fit. We ended up having to change it all out. The sizing was a bit but it was such a cool experience to see all this random gear. There was so many cool little like trinkets and like pins and just little things that I can put in my journal. Like I loved that part. And then and then once you get there and you unpack and we tried to like try everything on, swap out our sizes and then get settled. Getting settled was hard, but like unpacking all of our stuff, and we tried to make our room like a home and make it feel like normal. But yeah, how was arriving in the village for you?
Yeah, arriving in the village was great. I don't know if everyone knows this, but we played in Azerbaijan on like the 20th, 21st. Our tournament didn't start until the 30th.
30?
Maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
So we just went from Azerbaijan straight across to Paris. We made lots and lots of friends in the village, especially in the Australian village, including the baristas, so Rach and Josh and Andrew was the last guy.
Yeah, I think so.
But we were there for so long that I felt like truly bonded to Rach and Josh. And then all of the Olympic like team, the AOC, everyone was awesome and it was great. There's so many people to shout out. They were so welcoming. Walking into the village was freaking awesome. I think like that's my proudest part of all of it. But like away from the Gangurrus is like being a part of the Australian Olympic team because they take such good care of their athletes.
Yeah. And
everyone there was so welcoming. Like I truly felt like they just put us under their shoulder and put us under their arm and were like, what do you need? Let us help you. You guys are it. Like, you're here. How great. And that was freaking sweet. As far as our rooms, so cool. I guess they didn't get the memo because Anneli and I normally share a room when we go away. Lozzie and Willie share a room. And when we walked in, Lozzie was in my room and Anneli was in Willie's room. And that's just, so everyone was like, wait a sec. What? This is weird.
Wrong.
It was weird. So it took a moment and then...
They also wrote that on the Olympic page or something that I was engaged to Lauren Mansfield.
Yeah, your fiancé was Lauren.
Sorry, Ella.
Love you, Ella. Love you, Glozzy. And yeah, it took like 2 or 3 days for our clothes to actually like that fit to arrive. So we had to do all of these swap overs. But once the actual clothes got there, and my clothes fit, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
So top
What was your
3
favourite outfits? Like favourite pieces of clothing?
Oh,
we got so many pieces of clothing.
I liked the sports bras. I liked the shorts.
Boring.
And I liked the slides. The slides were my favourite, actually. What about you?
I say boring because there was a whole like tennis old netball skirt dress thing, which I
Actually, I can tell you Marina's top 2. It was the netball tennis dress and her visor.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So well. Now I want to say my top 3 experiences out of the village. Number 1 being just the Australian village area with the coffee shop and the snacks and all of the athletes down there watching everybody else play their sports. Like there was TVs everywhere where like every athlete of every different sport was supporting each other athlete, and I thought that was really cool. Number 2 would be...
Can I jump in on that?
Yes.
What's so cool is like, you know how during the Olympics when everyone becomes a professional in the sport, like back home and like regular people.
Yeah.
Imagine that in an Olympic village where like Anneli and I would be sitting down having a like up and go or something because they had all of the Australian snacks like Vegemite, up and go, peanut butter from back home, and we'd be like asking questions and every other athlete knows the answer and like everyone becomes a professional, so everyone's just as clueless.
Yeah, like
they're so interested in it.
Yeah, like we were asking the rules for like rugby sevens, because that's my new favourite sport, which I'll get to. We were asking the rules to rugby sevens to like a boxer and a swimmer who were then explaining things to us, and we were like, oh, how do you know? They're like, oh, I'm just a swimmer.
Well,
like,
someone
what?
else told me the rules. Yeah, it was like, well, they told me and I was talking to them.
Yeah.
The rugby gals were saying it.
So that's my number 2, and then my number 3 would probably be in the mornings and sometimes in the afternoons. We were next to the Oceania village, that Oceania section, and so they would sing and like harmonize and like
like their morning, I don't know if it would be morning prayer.
I don't know if it was prayer or like service, or sometimes it was just they'd get together and sing, but like it was beautiful. Like it would like vibrate throughout the village. I have a video, I'm not sure if I can stitch it, so yeah, I'll stitch it. I have a video and it was like we walked out onto our balcony and you could just hear this like beautiful singing. Loved that. Those were my top 3. What about you?
Every morning, that was so cool.
There was village experiences.
Top 3. That's so tough. No. That's so tough. Top 3. Great. Top 3.
Come on,
no,
get there.
That's so hard. I think. The Australian village. I think I've said already that it like the proudest part is being a part of the Australian Olympic team.
Yeah,
like it was just so great. They decked out the whole thing, as Anneli said. They also, like, you've probably seen lots of photos, but, like, if you walked past it, it was almost obnoxious, but it was so cool in a way that people, like, love it. Dope.
Yeah.
There was, like, lots of chairs to hang out with. There was also a massive emu and a kangaroo. There was, like, your greeting. We had a yarn circle, which was where everyone did their, like, welcoming and exit yarns.
2.
Lots of Indigenous print work and artwork throughout as well, which is dope. 2. The bikes. I love... The village was so accessible and you had to walk very far to get to certain places. So, like, there were just bikes everywhere. You could go everywhere on a bike.
Yeah.
And it was all the shuttles. Like, I think I would say transport in the village. Like, you just jump in a shuttle, stop it. One day, Anneli and I jumped on and just did the whole loop.
Yeah. 3.
All of the athlete perks. So there was free stuff everywhere. You could just walk past this big counter and it was like, it was called a grab and go, and you could just grab a drink bottle, or you could just grab a coffee, or you could just grab like Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Or there was this coffee shop and you could print like your face on top of the coffee. So cool. There was also like massage chairs for free.
Yeah.
You could just go and sit for 20 minutes. Loved it. So cool.
Okay, the next question. Top 2 favourite Olympic sports to watch while you were there. My number 1 was rugby sevens, men and women.
So good.
Loved that. Actually, I'm going to say 3. I have to say 3 because I can't make it just 2. Rugby sevens, boxing, and then skateboarding. Park and street, both of them. Loved, absolutely loved. What about you?
That was sick. Number one, rugby sevens, and because the gals were just so dope.
Yeah, the girls were so cool. The rugby seven girls, you are cool people. Sorry.
Real cool people. The boys also were dope as. One would definitely be sevens. Two, I wish that, controversial, but I wish that we were able to watch the breaking. Like, we were on tour, holiday tour, when the breaking started, but I wish that we could have watched that because that would have been sick. Like, the photos and videos that I'm seeing is just dope.
Yeah. Also, shout out Reagan. You're a real one. Reagan. You and Marena also look so similar, and I'm also going to stitch this here. Everyone thinks that Reagan and I are engaged. So I've been getting, like, Marena and I got tagged in this post.
Which is where I say, here is it.
Marena and I got tagged in this post where it was like lesbian couples in the village or in the Olympics or whatever, something.
Queers.
And everyone was like, oh my God, I didn't know Reagan was queer. And it's like, no, that's Marena Whittle. You guys got it mixed up. Although she would like to try breakdancing.
I'm pretty sure I wore that same fit.
Yeah, they actually wore the same outfit. I'll stitch it. Anyway, so, yep, number 2, breakdancing. What was your number 3?
Far out. That's actually so tough because they're all so good. Water polo.
Nice.
No. So good, water polo. You're so great. But it looks like water wrestling.
It is water UFC. The
judo was cool. Sick. I'm about to go through every...
No, okay. I'm cutting off Marena, otherwise she'll say...
My favourite was rugby sevens.
Her favourite was rugby sevens. Okay. The next question was, if you were to try another sport at the Olympics, what would it be? We know the answer.
Rugby sevens.
No, I was going to say breakdancing. Breaking.
I've been saying about rugby sevens, like, I just want to know who gets their shorts because they are the strongest material I've ever seen, because it's like literally grown, strong adults being pushed up by their pants and then also holding them. No tears.
Who makes those shorts? Because that's like, we need some army armor like that, because
we need some for regular pants and for period panties.
Yeah.
That's some heavy duty material.
Okay, what I would try, I would be awful at this, really bad, but I'd love to try it. Matt Mitchum, I would love to try diving one day. I am a terrible diver. I dove off a boat yesterday and almost did a backflip. I'm so bad.
She just tried to do like a normal dive, and it's not the first time. It's like every time we've dove whilst being in Spain, she's just jumped over, and it's like...
I can't hack the knot.
And then her back...
Yeah.
It's like she almost does a backwards scorpion.
Yeah, I can't hack it, but I love it. I love diving badly. So, Matt Mitchum, maybe you can teach me how to dive one day. Yeah, Marena did a flip. Okay, the next thing we were going to answer before we go was...
I'd also love, I would love to have a go at breakdancing. I think that'll be so much fun.
Okay.
Do you think you could BMX though?
Absolutely not.
Like, do you think that... And this is what gets me about those sorts of sports, is like, imagine just standing, because like rugby sevens, like, right, I've just got to run, or swimming, I've just got to swim, or polo, somehow survive.
I think there's a lot more to rugby sevens than just running.
There's so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more. But like, when it comes to BMXing or skateboarding, like, I've got to have a piece of equipment on the edge of a metal bowl, and like, just trust that I'm going to survive. And like, not only do I have to go up, and I have to do like tricks and shit.
Yeah, every time we were sitting down in the common area,
can you imagine how hard that would be?
Watching the skateboarding, every time they fell off, we were like, oh, ankles, oh, knees. Like, there was like, all we were thinking about was their ankles and their knees. Okay, we are going to keep yapping. I need to wrap this up. But the first one is, so what is your biggest takeaway from this Olympic experience?
Do you have anything?
I have 2 things. My biggest 2 takeaways, I've said this at the start, but accepting what I am and accepting what I am not, and not having that as a negative thing. My biggest takeaway is to look my failures or my shortcomings in the eye and accept them and better them, and not judge myself for them. So accepting what I am and accepting what I am not. And then to follow up on that, my biggest takeaway from the Olympics is that my biggest opponent will always be myself. My hardest opponent will always be myself. And it was highlighted in this whole Olympic experience for me, magnified. that it's I get in my own way quite a lot, and that is something that I'm really taking out of this whole experience, positively and negatively, like accepting what I am and accepting what I am not, and knowing that my biggest opponent will always be me. What's yours?
I think what's interesting about that, I'm still thinking about what mine is, but I think what's interesting about that is like people think that just because you're at the Olympics, like everything works, like everything, it's a solution in and of itself. But like we're still athletes, like it's like even though we're Olympians, like we're still the athlete that got ourselves there, and like we still face like the same hardships that we always have, and so like I find that it's not just going to suddenly go away. Like, I'm still going to stress that I can't do the right things, you know, like I'm still gonna like struggle with my own confidence and stuff.
I struggle answering the question like, oh, how does it feel being an Olympian? Because I feel
so much.
No, answering that question like how does it feel to be an Olympian? It feels right now, and look, it might feel different, like I'm so proud to call myself an Australian Olympian and be a part of the Australian Olympic team. But how does it feel right now to be an Olympian? It feels a little scary, and it feels a little like I've let myself down, and it feels a little like failure right now. But it also feels like one of the most amazing emotions I've ever experienced. It also feels like pride and happiness encompassed into one. So there's so many emotions it's hard to kind of put in, but also like going off what Marena said, I am an Olympian. Ready for this sentence? I am an Olympian. I still take antidepressants. I still take my anxiety medication. I still need my psychologist appointments and my online therapy. Just because I am an Olympian now doesn't mean that I haven't experienced and continue to experience those things. So to any kids listening, just because we are on that platform doesn't mean we are perfect. It probably means to get there, we've had to sacrifice a lot of parts of ourselves and have had to push ourselves to the brink in a lot of different ways. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about that. I want to backtrack. Marena, what are the 2 things you've learned about this, your biggest takeaways? Answer this. Answer this.
I'm almost there, but like I think also what people need to remember is like when it comes to big achievements and big accomplishments, like it doesn't finish there. Like you still have to survive the rest of it, and like you still have to continue afterwards. So like for me, I think what I'm learning is that like the build up to the Olympics was amazing, and like it's so incredible to call myself an Olympian, but now it's like I can see everything that I've put off because this has been the focus, and I think the emotional come down is going to be so large. So like I've already booked in my therapy sessions. I already have been writing down in my journals like some trigger things that I know I need to talk about, and like I'm really excited for that aspect of it. I think it's going to be really interesting to see like the person that I am on the other side. But the 2 things that I've learnt, or my 2 takeaways from being an Olympian, I think my 2 takeaways from being an Olympian was like once you get to this awesome level, and like it's a very elite level, like I don't want to minimize how hard it is to become an Olympian. It's very difficult, and like everything that it took to get here, it's not just this last 6 months, it's the decision making to be in a personal space that I could make that team. It's the decisions that I made along the way to like either listen to people who are trying to hold me back or like push through and trust myself, you know. And then even that was quite like isolating and scary at times. But being here is just such an empowering feeling, but also now understanding like the standards are different when you're here. So it's not necessarily like a performance standard. Like for me now, it's like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to move from now on. Like I do place a higher importance on like therapy, physical, like recovery, like actually taking care of myself. And then what was really cool in the Olympics was how much that matters to everybody else. Like the conversations we were having in the village weren't like, oh yeah, how freaking sweet is this? Like, bleh. love it, hell yeah. It was like, hey, you're now in the team and we're going to take care of you. And so when we get back to Australia, please reach out so that we can help you in whatever way that looks like. Like even watching Willie connect with other Indigenous and First Nations athletes and teammates was really cool, because like they have had their own bond and they're all super connected, and getting to witness that was such a privilege. And like I think the biggest takeaway, if I'm going to bounce off all of this, is just like how much it truly takes a village. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just, you're not as alone as you might feel that you are, and all it takes is for you to like have that strength to actually reach out and ask, or just say something, or just like lean on someone, because it could just take one conversation. You never know. And like you just need to believe that like you've got your people, or you might not, but there are people out there who are prepared to listen to you and support you and are prepared to help, because it's not any weight off their back. And quite frankly, for my life, it's like, if it does feel like it's a weight off their back and you're talking to people, or you're reaching or leaning on people, and it does feel like it's a pain on them, then they're probably the wrong people to be leaning on, quite frankly.
Yeah. I like that answer.
Yeah.
Lastly, what's next for us? And this is hard. This is so hard.
This room is getting so hot.
It's really warm in here. It's really warm in here. But what's next? So for me personally, like we are going to finish the rest of our holiday.
Yeah.
We're going to enjoy this time, trying not to think about sport. But I think these types of conversations for us, we've been having a lot off camera to kind of like digest the whole experience.
Yeah.
There's so much more for us to talk about, and I probably will, like I'm probably going to do some smaller mini episodes. This was supposed to be a mini episode, but I think we've spoken for an hour.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm probably going to do some smaller mini episodes when I get back home about what it feels like to then be at home, and how I then adjust back to like setting some new goals. Because I think that's important to like digest these goals and set some new ones. So anyway, I digress. What's next for us is we're going to finish our holiday. Then I'm going to go back to Perth. Marina's going to come with me. We're going to chill there for a little bit. And then Marina actually has to go to Hungary for her next professional season, and I have to start pre-season with the Lynx, which I'm super excited for. Yeah. So it's hard to think about what's next right now, because we're trying to just be in the moment and still digest what has happened. But
it's so crazy. The world just goes on. Like, it's hard to comprehend, and I don't know if we've done a great enough job of it, but it really is like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Yeah. And, once-in-a-lifetime experience. One of the biggest highlights of the games was the opening ceremony. Not on the boats. After the boats, we got off and we walked in. It was like this little personal concert, and the Eiffel Tower shot up with lights, and we actually will stitch this in over here if you can look to your left.
We will.
But it was just such an incredible experience that will always stay with me.
The opening ceremony.
Yeah, the opening ceremony was Celine Dion, and I cried. Anyway, but it's just such a massive event, and it takes up all this focus and all this time, and you're not really ever ready for it to end. And then it's like on the other side, we come here and we're having this holiday and it's beautiful. And then now it's a few days out that it's like, wow, life just kind of goes on for everyone else, because not everyone else is able to experience what we've just experienced. And that's going to be really tough to handle when we go back to our seasons.
Bubbles, yeah. We're in a bubble right now. So when we go back to real life, I don't know, when we answer that question, it might be a little bit different.
Personally, I think I'm going to cry so bad when we get back to Australia.
Yeah.
It's just all going to hit me.
I'm excited to see Loki. How do you feel about that?
I'm so excited to see the big baby boy.
Oh.
We've been away for like a month.
We've been gone for so long. Okay, all right. To end it, this is the last question. What would I say to my younger self if I could send her a message? This is what I would say. Hey, you went to you went to the Olympics. You're an Olympian. You're going to grow up to be an Olympian, and it's going to be really, really hard, and there's going to be so many more lows than there are high, but keep believing in yourself. And like what I said before, learn to accept what you are and what you are not, but you're going to be a freaking Olympian. Anyway, Marina, what would you say to baby you?
Baby Ree, baby me. No. What I would say was actually trust your gut. I know that you're going to tell yourself this a few times, and you're going to listen to other people who are like, no, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. And you're going to be told that you can't do a lot of things, and you're not going to believe them, but you're going to do it anyway. And I want you to actually listen to yourself and trust yourself. Because if you did it a lot sooner, you wouldn't have to wait until you were 30 to play in the Olympics. You actually might have played it sooner. But no, I'm kidding. We will be Olympians, and like, I just want you to trust yourself a lot sooner than what you got there. But I am so incredibly proud of the person that you're becoming, and I love you so, so much.
Okay, so that was Under the Surface with Anneli, Maley and co-host Marena Whittle. Thanks for sitting in for this, guys. It's a long one. Strap up.
Thanks for joining our holiday, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this long conversation about.
To end, I'm gonna show you our view, and then we're probably gonna go for a swim.
I'm sweating, baby.
Maybe go to the beach. But really, yeah. If you have any questions about our experience, I will be doing more of these videos, so I will be answering more questions. Ask me what you want to know about my time in the Olympics, and Marina and I will do our best to answer all of these questions. Ask them, DM us, DM Under the Surface, comment, whatever, and we'll do our best to get there. So thank you so much. We love you. Thank you for all of the support.
And just a little plug, please follow Marena Whittle at Instagram. She's going to be coming out with a little reel of her own, and if you're interested, please follow.
Okay, all right, bye guys. That was Under the Surface. Whoop, whoop. Also, wait, actually, not bye guys. I'm going to show you outside. This is our view. This is Majorca. I know filming on the beach in Perth is pretty nice, but this would be a close second. Anyway, see ya.